Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. It's great to be here today to talk about public transit with Ministers Blair and McKenna and our outstanding Liberal team from Scarborough, but a big welcome as well to Mayor John Tory, who's here with us today. John, I know we're on the same page when it comes to the importance of good transit for this city. So thank you for your partnership in this important work every step of the way. You've been there, obviously, for Toronto, but you've been there as an outstanding partner for the federal government and for all our local MPs. You know how hard our Scarborough MPs have been pushing for this announcement, and you've been a great partner to them and to me. So I'm really glad we're announcing this today. Now, it's been a tough year for Canadians, but even if you're working from home right now, one thing you probably don't miss is spending long hours commuting. If you're from Scarborough, the normal daily trip to work can take way too long, but we're working on making things a lot quicker. Last week, we announced a historic investment for public transit in the GTHA, including $2.26 billion for the Scarborough subway extension. This is good news. Investments like these will make our communities more livable, keep our air clean, and make life more affordable for the middle class. Because that's what building back better is all about, a better present and a better future for everyone. I'm now happy to pass it over to my good friends, Mayor Tory and Minister Blair. So John, why don't you start by telling us how these investments will make a real difference for people in Toronto and improve the opportunities for our communities?
Well, Prime Minister, thank you. And it's nice to see you. And I will tell you that it is going to make a big difference. But before I highlight a few of those differences, may I just say thank you to the Government of Canada. The Government of Canada has been a good partner. I've said this many times, and I've also said that if there comes a day where it's not such a good partner, I'll have to say that too. That's my job. But the Government of Canada has been a good partner for the City of Toronto on transit and on housing. And we'll discuss the housing, I'm sure, another day. But on transit, the government has stepped forward to make the investments of billions of dollars in this project we're going to talk about today in Scarborough. And the MPs, I have to tell you, some days I think I'm hearing from the Scarborough MPs more often than I hear from members of my own family because they're so persistent about fighting for the interests of their residents when it comes to transit and housing and other files. And this one as well has been a partnership with the Government of Ontario. And I think it's been great that we've all been able to prove that governments can work together when the will is there to get something done like this. And it is going to make a big difference to people. I mean, you can start anywhere you want, but let's start with the number of new riders. It's estimated there are going to be 34,000 new daily riders on this higher order transit than was the case when it doesn't exist, like today, where there are other forms of transportation people have to take, including cars or buses or otherwise. It's the case that you're going to have 38,000 people within walking distance of higher order transit because the governments together, led by the federal government, are building this extension to the Blair Danforth subway into Scarborough. You're going to have a lot more people whose jobs, 34,000 jobs, I think, is the number of jobs that are going to be within walking distance again. This is all good news because it means at the end of the day, people will have an easier way to get there, but they also will not have to drive cars. And that's going to have another very positive benefit, which is that it's going to take cars off the road, people who don't have to drive. And that is going to lead to an estimated 10,000 tons of carbon that we're going to be taking out of the environment because of the fact we're going to have this subway to take people where they need to go. So it's a win-win all the way around. Il aidera les familles, les travailleurs, l'environnement, et aussi créera beaucoup des emplois. It's going to be good. It's going to create jobs. It's going to help clean up the environment. It's going to help commuters and workers. So this is all around a good news story. And again, I just want to say it's come because we've worked together and we work together with the MPs and we work together with the other governments to show people that when you put your mind to it, you can get on with something that people expect us to do, which is to build transit.
Yeah. I mean, I think this challenging year that we've had has really shown how important it is for people to come together, whether it's neighbors coming together to support each other, whether it's communities stepping up, or whether it's orders of government to do big things, not just fighting this pandemic, although that's a big piece of it, but also making sure that we come through this stronger than ever before and build a brighter future. That's what we're doing, and it's just so great to have a partner like you. But we also have other great partners around the table. One of them is Bill Blair, who's, of course, Minister of Public Safety, but also a longtime proud resident of Scarborough, a proud Torontonian. Bill, what difference is this going to make for people in your community, for people who live in Scarborough?
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I'm also delighted to be here, and I want to acknowledge, Mayor Tory for his partnership and leadership on these issues, as well as all my colleagues. And Prime Minister, I grew up in Scarborough. I raised my family here, and I'm proud to continue to serve in Scarborough. The announcement made today, the investment in transit for Scarborough is going to be a game changer. It really is. It's not just an issue, and it's really important. I think everybody in Scarborough knows what it's like to wait for the Shepherd bus or the Warden bus and the long commutes either to university or to work or to simply get around. And so this is an investment in our growth and our prosperity. And we know that prosperity follows transit investments. And Prime Minister, there's almost 650,000 Canadians living in Scarborough. It's one of the most diverse and culturally vibrant communities anywhere in Canada. One of the things that I think maybe have held back our community is access to good, rapid order, higher order transit. And through this investment, this is going to change the quality of life for our citizens, for the people living in our community. It'll give us an opportunity for prosperity and growth, as I've mentioned. Prime Minister, I think everyone in Scarborough is really excited about this investment. It's going to change our community for the better. It's already a great place to raise a family, a great place to live. It's about to become a better place to raise a family and to live because of the investments that we're talking about today.
Thanks, Bill. Well put. Now, one of the challenges around an announcement like this normally is we're talking about 4 different locations in Scarborough. We'd have to pick which one would I visit, which one would we do the announcement at. One of the advantages of having a virtual announcement like this is we get to go to 4 different parts of the community to talk with some of the local MPs who've been so instrumental in fighting for this new subway extension. This is good news for everyone in Scarborough all the way through. And that's why I'm so excited to be talking to the strong members of our team who've been advocates for this subway extension for a very, very long time. As John Tory said, they've really been pushing on the city, on the province, and making sure that the federal government is here at the table. So it's with great excitement that we get to head to Kennedy Station to talk about where things are going to start as we move forward. And I'm going to check in with our 2 great MPs there, Jean Yip and John McKay. So, Jean, why don't you tell me how what their perspective is there from Kennedy?
Thanks, Prime Minister, for your remarks, as well as Mayor Tory and Minister Blair. Welcome to Scarborough. And I'm so happy to be joined here by my friend and colleague, MP John McKay of Scarborough-Guildwood, and it's a great day. We're here at the beginning site of Scarborough Subway Extension, and we're happy to be kicking off this tour. And just to mention a bit of this historic announcement, and what does it mean to us? Well, it's nearly 8 kilometers of new rail, and it has 3 stops. It has about 3,000 jobs. We'll be doing something for the environment and reducing the yearly greenhouse gas emissions by about 10,000 tons and service over 100,000 riders from Scarborough and around. So over to you, John.
Thank you, Jean, and indeed, Prime Minister, Mayor Tory, Ministers McKenna and Blair. Jean and I are at the end of the Scarborough subway at the Kennedy Road Station. Prime Minister, Mayor, Ministers, if this were the morning rush hour, we would have late for their work. Because of you, you see, Prime Minister, there hasn't been any subway transit built in 40 plus years. That's a long time. And transit users have been justifiably upset as they watch their commute times grow longer and longer. But today is a good day as it begins to address some of Scarborough's most pressing transit needs, which Jean has outlined in part. Prime Minister, Mayor Tory, Minister McKenna, I would like to offer you an insincere apology on behalf of my colleagues in Scarborough who have been relentless in their advocacy of Scarborough Transit. I'm sure that from time to time, you might have thought that, oh no, here comes the Scarborough caucus again. You can be forgiven for that thought. In fact, we might even grant Minister McKenna honorary Scarborough citizenship, as she was the one to steer the Rouge National Park back on course. Prime Minister, Mayor, Ministers, this is a good day for Scarborough. This is a good day for transit.
Listen, John, I have to say, 6 years ago when we first came into office as a government with a strong team of Scarborough MPs, we knew that we were going to be making historic investments in public transit, which we have over the past years right across the country. But the way you have specifically stood up and made sure that folks in Scarborough get the support they need, that we get the investments in there, that we get rolling on this, hasn't been without its challenges. You all know that, but your steadiness, John, Jean, and all the other Scarborough MPs, which you're going to be speaking to, your belief that this was something we needed to do, not just for Scarborough, not just for Toronto, but for the country, to unlock the economic potential contributions, to make sure that people could live and work and do so in a reasonable way with not being overwhelmed by commutes. These extra stations will spread the access to the subway system, help so many people, and make sure that we're also fighting climate change and improving the environment at the same time. This is about jobs. This is about spending more time with your kids. And your advocacy for that, John, Jean, you guys don't have to apologize for. You were elected to fight for Scarborough. You were elected to fight to be strong voices from your communities in Ottawa. And now we see exactly what that delivers. So thank you so much for everything you guys did to push on it.
Thank you.
Excellent. We're now going to go to the next stop, which is the Lawrence Station. We're going to be meeting with Salma Zahid, who's been an extraordinary voice for Scarborough from the very beginning. It is so great to see you, Salma, and I know you're there with Philip, and you'll introduce us to him and talk about what an impact the Lawrence Station is going to have. So go ahead, Salma.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thanks to everyone for joining us today. I'm here at Lawrence Avenue East and McCowan Road, where very soon under my feet will be a new subway station for the Scarborough subway extension. Scarborough subway extension is something long time coming. Myself and my colleagues have been advocating for this subway for a very long time, since we came into power in 2015. This is something which will make a real difference in the lives of my constituents here in Scarborough Centre. Many of them are from racialized communities and lower income communities. Having a stop at Lawrence and McCowan was really very important for the people of Scarborough. Because as you can see, Scarborough General Hospital is behind me. And so many people come to work here to visit their loved ones receiving care here. We also have 2 long-term care just down the street. So this is the real healthcare hub for the Scarborough. Lawrence Avenue East is also very busy with the bus routes, funneling people from different parts of Scarborough here, making them connect to the RT station and then on to Kennedy subway station to get downtown for the subway. People had to spend a lot of time commuting to and from downtown. So having a subway stop just here at Lawrence, getting people onto line 2 from Lawrence and McCowan will save a lot of time. It will take so many cars out of the roads, and it would also allow TTC to take off the buses from Lawrence and use them to improve services somewhere else. So I really want to thank everyone for their advocacy to have this station here. People of Scarborough have fought for a very long time for this station. I am joined here with one of the residents of Scarborough, Philip Bilasso, who commutes downtown for work and has been commuting on TTC for many 30 years. So, Philip, how is your commute every day?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for being part of this very historic announcement. And for more than 30 years, we've been using the transit going into and coming from work in downtown Toronto. And 4 hours every day spending on the transit is a long hours, the spending on the transit. With this announcement, everybody living and working in Scarborough will benefit the time and the all the improvement in the business community and the economy of the Scarborough. Thank you so much, Prime Minister, Mayor Tory, and Mr. Blair, and thank you, MP Salma, for this concerted effort.
Thank you, Philip. Philip, tell me, how much time do you think this is going to save you in your daily transit?
Well, I guess if we can slash at least 50%, because right now we're spending 2 hours going into and then 2 hours coming back from our residence here in Scarborough. So if I can have the 2 hours extra to spend with my family or do other things, it's been way better for sure. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Well said, Philip. This is what it's all about. It's not just about, buildings and jobs and rail cars and subways. It's about more time spent with family, more time doing the things you want to be doing, and less time stuck in traffic. And that makes a huge, huge difference, I know, for a whole bunch of people. And that's why we're so excited about this investment.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Salma. And of course, Eid Mubarak as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go now to the Scarborough Centre Station, where we're going to be meeting with Gary Anandasangaree, who's been a long-time advocate for better transit in Scarborough. It is so great to see you, Gary, and tell me about the impact that this is going to have on people in your community.
Thank you, Prime Minister. This is an incredible day for Scarborough. I'm right here at Scarborough Centre. You'll see right here the RT. This is the last of the RT station. This was built in 1985. It's coming to an end in 2023, in a year and a half or so. And just to my left is the Scarborough Town Centre. And all along, there's enormous potential for growth and commercial development that will create thousands and thousands of jobs for the people of Scarborough. So this subway extension to here is so important, so vital to our long-term growth and vitality. And I just want to thank you, Prime Minister. Thank Minister McKenna. And I echo John McKay in saying that we've been relentless in this, and we really appreciate the patience you've had. When we took office in 2015, the 6 Scarborough MPs, and at that time it was Arnold Chan, we sat down, and Arnold just kept saying over and over again, stop talking, just start building already. And one thing that this approval does is it doesn't keep us waiting for 1 or 2 years or 3 years. We, in fact, will have shovel to the ground by the end of the year, which is so important to transit development. So thank you for this. Thank you to our minister, Minister Blair, and of course, Mayor John Tory, who has been a steadfast supporter of Scarborough. Scarborough was amalgamated around 1995, and I would say that John Tory has been the best mayor for Scarborough, and we're so grateful to be working with him. As a team, we're united in our efforts. Scarborough Transit was our #1 priority for the last 6 years. And with this announcement, it will still continue to be our #1 priority because this is a major down payment on our overall transit strategy. And we look forward to working with you and Mr. McKenna and the mayor and as a team towards advancing other orders of transit in Scarborough. Thank you, Prime Minister, and have a great day.
I'm so glad to hear that. But you talk about all the partners and all the work that's been done. You need to introduce to me Larry, who's beside you, who I know who's been an unbelievable partner in making sure we're moving forward in the right way. The community of advocates, of activists, of people who've been making sure we're moving forward in the right direction have been incredibly valuable. So introduce me to Larry.
Prime Minister Larry Watmore is the president of the Scarborough Community Renewal Organization, organization founded in 2015 to improve the lives of the people of Scarborough. Larry is part of many generations of Scarborough advocates who've been advocating for transit, but he's been relentless in supporting us and also pushing us to do more. So I'm so delighted to welcome Larry to speak to us. Larry.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. Thank you, Prime Minister, Mayor Tory, Minister McKenna. It's great to be here because Scarborough Community Renewal Organization is all about connecting, promoting, and renewing Scarborough so Scarborough can be strong and prosperous. And this project here is so well aligned with that objective because we're finally getting to the point where there's been lots of talk about the Scarborough subway extension over the last many years. Now there's action. There's shovels going into the ground. There's money to make this happen. And we're very grateful, Prime Minister, Minister McKenna, and to the Scarborough Caucus for your support to get this project over the financial finish line, because that's been so crucial to make this happen so that Scarborough can benefit broadly from this investment, and especially Scarborough Centre here, where we have an opportunity to create the kind of vitality and prosperity and employment opportunities that have always been envisioned for this area here in Scarborough Centre, but we've always seemed to come up a little bit short. The missing piece has been this subway connection. Now that we're about to embark on getting it, that is going to be a game changer for prosperity in Scarborough. Our work is not done yet, I must add. We are the next frontier for us as Scarborough Transit advocates will be the extension of the Eglinton East Light Rapid Transit project from Kennedy Station to University of Toronto Scarborough and then to Malvern, so that our residents in the east and north of Scarborough can benefit from higher order public transit as well. And Mayor Tory, we're very grateful to you and to Toronto City Council for freeing up almost $1.3 billion as a down payment on that project. It's a huge amount of money, but we need more. And I'm sure I enjoy working with the Scarborough Caucus and the federal government to try and get that project over the finish line as well. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Larry. And why am I not the least bit surprised? Even as we finally get to where we need to go, community leaders and advocates like you are already thinking about those next steps. And it's so important that you be doing that. And thank you for being with us as we get this step done. But I hear you on the next steps. John, any perspective on this and on how we can keep working with Larry to make sure we're getting those next steps like the Eglinton East and other issues?
Well, Prime Minister, I just want to say that I will be, working with the Scarborough Caucus. They've already been all over me with respect to the Scarborough East LRT. It's a great project because it also passes through 7 of what we call neighborhood improvement areas. These are some Torontonians that need all the support they can get to fully participate in the economy and in the benefits of being a Canadian and a Torontonian. And so that is a great project. And we have put well north of $1 billion on the table as our contribution. But what I wanted to point out was that we as a city will move several hundred jobs to the Scarborough Centre there. We have a civic center there. And we're going to renovate it to accommodate that. But one of the only reasons we were able to have the confidence to move those jobs to Scarborough, which is not only going to help liven up Scarborough economically, but it's also, I hope, going to mean that more people can work closer to home, is because this subway is going in and because of your government and the province making the contributions they have to this subway happening. So that will be by itself several hundred jobs that will move to Scarborough in the not too distant future because of the fact that we're investing in transit. And that's good for everybody, good for families, good for commuters in cars that are going to be left driving. It's good for the economy and it's good for Scarborough. And so it's another byproduct of this investment made in this subway extension, including the contribution made by your government that we're acknowledging today.
But that's also really good for the city as well, to have people living and working closer to home,
Totally.
able to make sure that their communities' voices are being heard throughout the workings of the city. It is a win all around and is unlocked because we've all done this work together with a clear understanding that there is much more to do. So thank you, John. Thank you, Larry, and thank you, Gary, as well, for all your leadership. I look forward to our next conversations around next steps. And finally, our fourth virtual stop today is to head to Shepherd Station, where Shaun Chen, our MP, is there, along with Tyler, who looks like he's working hard. And I look forward to hear what projects you're working on and what you hope to be working on, Tyler. But let me turn it to Shaun, first of all, to talk about how much of a difference Shepherd Station is going to make.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister, Minister McKenna, Mayor Tory. You have all ridden the new Scarborough subway extension, and we are right here at the final stop at the corner of Shepherd and McCowan, where the final stop will be built. I'm so delighted for this incredible investment, and I want to thank you for your leadership and for making sure that our residents are well served. We're looking around and seeing all the commuters on this very busy afternoon. This transit, this new stop will make an incredible difference for them, for our seniors, for our young people, for workers. And right beside me is Tyler. Tyler is a third-year apprentice with the sheet metal workers and roofers, Local 30, and he's been working on the Eglinton Crosstown. He's very likely going to be helping to build this Scarborough subway extension. So Tyler's going to tell us a bit about why this is so important and talk about his experience in working on the Eglinton Crosstown.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool experience for me. I've never really been on a job site like this before. I love the opportunity to be able to work for the city of Toronto like this in the 30s, so I just love the experience.
Excellent. And tell me, how much more time do you think you're going to be on the Eglinton Cross, and what kind of work do you see as coming for you and for all your fellow construction workers over the coming years with the expansion of the Scarborough subway?
Well, I don't really know exactly how long I'm going to be on that site for, but as of right now, I seem to be steady there, so which is good for me. But I'm sure the work will be steady for us Local 30 workers, and keep the transit going and everybody keep working.
Well, listen, I mean, one of the things we've been talking about an awful lot about as we come through this pandemic is the need to build back better. And that means looking really at how we're keeping people connected, how we're making sure they can live close to where they work or get to and from quickly, rapidly, in ways that don't impact the environment. And that's where the skills you're bringing for modern construction, for the advanced planning that we're doing, and for, quite frankly, delivering tangibly for growing communities and growing cities is just so great. So you know, public transit is one of those investments that has just so many advantages to it. Yes, it's good jobs for you on the building of it, but then it's also opportunity and growth for access to good jobs for so many people in the communities that get hit. It lowers the cost of living as well, because you don't have to get a car, don't have to waste or spend huge amounts of time on your commute. You can have reliable public transit. And then, of course, it's good for the environment, which is good for future generations as well. So all these things together is really why it's such a pleasure to be there and connect with you. I'll turn it over to Bill Blair now in case Bill has a question for you, Shaun or Tyler.
Yeah, thanks very much, Prime Minister. And I have to tell you, for me personally, seeing the subway come north of the 401 up to Shepherd in Scarborough is perhaps one of the most significant parts of this initiative and this announcement. You know, the northeast part of Scarborough has been an area that has been chronically underserved. And I know Shaun and Gary both know the area very well. We've seen an enormous population growth in Melbourne and in all the communities just in the northeast part of Scarborough. It's an area of our city that is filled with potential and opportunity. And by bringing higher order transit up north of the 401 to Shepherd Avenue, frankly, it's going to have a huge impact for all the people there. Particularly excited about, you know, Tyler's comments about job opportunities and Shaun's observations. But, you know, I raised my family in that community and grew up there. I can tell you that bringing the subway all the way up to the Shepherd line is going to be a huge change for the people of Scarborough. And I know Shaun and Gary have been enormous advocates for that, and for representing all the people who live there, including my family. We're very, very grateful for that advocacy. It really is going to make a difference for us all, Prime Minister.
All right. Thank you, Bill. And thank you very much, Shaun. Thank you very much, Tyler, for being part of this. I'll let you get back to work, both of you, and turn it back to Bill Blair for comments and passing it on to the others.
Thank you.
Prime Minister, we've got an opportunity now to call upon Minister McKenna, who, as you have heard from all of my colleagues, has been the subject to relentless advocacy, but she has been so responsive and so respectful to the people of Scarborough. I think in entire fairness, we should make her an honorary Scarbarian, and I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to turn this over now to Catherine for her remarks.
You know what, Bill, I'll take it. I'll be an honorary Scarbarian. That sounds awesome. Prime Minister, I just want to talk to you about the Scarborough Caucus. These folks, Jean, Gary, Shaun, John, Salma, and of course, Bill, from day one have been calling me, lobbying me, telling me how important this investment is to the people of Scarborough. That for 35 years, there has not been new substantial transit investment in Scarborough. That's unacceptable. And from day one, our government has been committed. And a huge thanks to you, Prime Minister, because you committed historic funding to make this happen. And these were really tough negotiations. And thank you to Mayor Tory. You were there all the way just saying, get it done. And in life, you got to get things done. But we had to deliver for the people of Scarborough. So there are a number of conditions that my colleagues here from Scarborough said were really important. That meant more affordable housing, because we need better and more housing, making sure there were benefits to the local community, local jobs, local businesses, and of course, protecting the environment. So I am absolutely thrilled to be seeing what's going to happen there. And you know what? I would say thank you, Larry, because we need more ambition. So to Larry, the Eglinton East LRT investment, we can do that. We've got permanent public transit funding, thanks to the Prime Minister. And so we have opportunities to be more ambitious, because this is all about how we deliver for real people. The real people in Scarborough who want to get around in faster ways, in cleaner ways, in more affordable ways. And so we're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on fighting for you and having your backs. And now I'm going to hand it over to someone who's a good friend and, as we've all heard, a great friend to the people of Scarborough, who's advocated for this project, but also historic investments in public transit, the deal we were able to reach last week. My good friend, Mayor John Tory.
Minister Catherine, thank you. And I want to thank you as well. You know, I think what this project proves, together with the investment right across the city in huge amounts in transit, that the investments that are being made by the federal government and the provincial government and ourselves, is that the system works. Here you have a Prime Minister who is not from Toronto. You have an environment and infrastructure minister who is not from Toronto, but they have been leaders in making sure they did listen to the encouragement and the advocacy of the Scarborough MPs and MPs from across Toronto in convincing the Government of Canada to make this investment, which is being made in transit lines that are happening across the city. And so to me, that proves the system works. It proves the system works, that the local people who represent the wishes of the 700,000 people who live in Scarborough and who've had underinvestment for decades in transit in Scarborough. And that has denied them the opportunity that other people have had to connect themselves to opportunity. Because in the end, that's what transit's about. It's we sometimes look at it as lines on a map. There was a map behind the Prime Minister in the room where he is there. And that's important, that we show a network of transit getting people around and taking them out of their cars and helping to save the environment. But the most important thing about public transit is that it connects people to opportunity. And people in Scarborough haven't had that higher order transit that are going to make a lot more jobs, a lot closer to transit, that are going to have environmental benefits and that are going to have, as the Prime Minister said a number of times today, benefits for families. And so I just want to say thank you to the Government of Canada, which has been a good partner to Toronto on transit and housing in particular. And I want to say that this development today, this project that's being announced today, should give people hope. It should give people hope, and we need hope right now. And together with good vaccination results and things like that, the reason this should give people hope is because Toronto, I can assure you, is going to be a very important part of a strong economic recovery for Canada. And we want to do it not just for Toronto, we want to do it for Canada because we're proud Canadians here. And this is going to be an important part of that. It's going to be the very fact we have jobs being created to build this extension to the Bloor-Danforth subway line, and all of the decisions that will then be made because the transit is going to be there, which is going to be beneficial to Toronto in the short term and in the longer term. And I think that that's going to be good for the country. And so on that note, I want to say thank you again to the Prime Minister for his leadership and to Minister McKenna and all the Scarborough MPs, and turn it back over to the Prime Minister.
Thanks, John. Really appreciate your words, but again, really appreciate the partnership and leadership that you've shown. We as a federal government, we got elected 6 years ago with big plans on public transit, and you've been there to show us exactly what is needed for the city of Toronto, what is needed for Canadians to grow and get good jobs, and that's what we've been there for. Catherine mentioned it. There's now permanent public transit funding that the federal government will deliver every single year on into the future. So that gives you the ability to sort of step back and make the planning decisions that are going to be so important, because you don't build transit for the following year or even the following 5 years. You build it for the following decades. And a vision, an ambitious vision of what the future of our country can look like, the future of our great cities looks like, is really important. And you talked about the map behind me. I can't help but look at that great picture behind you and think of how far Toronto has come from the time as it was a village huddled on the shores of Lake Ontario, and the vision of people building not for themselves, but for their children and grandchildren. And that's what we're getting back to. But we couldn't do it if we didn't have incredible local advocates on the ground. So once again, I want to thank Shaun Chen, Jean Yip, Salma Zahid, John McKay, Gary Anandasangaree, and Bill Blair for their incredible representation of Scarborough, for the great work that they've been doing, and their leadership every step of the way. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. As we work to finish our fight against COVID-19, it's so important that we invest in our future. Avec des projets comme celui-ci, on continue de bâtir des communautés plus connectées, où les parents peuvent passer plus de temps avec leurs enfants et moins de temps dans les embouteillages. When we deliver good jobs, cleaner air, and less traffic, everybody wins. I'm going to keep working with municipal and provincial partners for the people of Scarborough and for all Canadians. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this today, and thank you also for being part of a brighter future for Scarborough and for all of Canada. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. On se voit bientôt. Take great care.